My name is Anna Brouillette, and I'm the Policy and Program Director at Building Bright Futures. Today I want to tell you a little bit more about the 2024 policy recommendations of the Vermont Early Childhood State Advisory Council Network. Each year, our network of over 500 early childhood partners comes together through a number of meetings, including our Vermont Early Childhood Action Plan committees, regional councils, and the State Advisory Council table itself, to set priority and strategic direction for the coming year. Over the course of the year, these parties come together and elevate the most urgent, pressing needs for the early childhood system in Vermont, and help us determine the policy recommendations that would make the biggest impact on children and their families. This year's policy recommendations include investing in evidence-driven strategies to support families during the perinatal period, enacting a paid family and medical leave insurance program, investing in statewide family leadership opportunities, and increasing access to developmental and behavioral screenings for children and their families. These policy recommendations are meant to be seen as a starting point or guide for policy and decision makers looking to make an impact on the well-being of young children and their families. This year, the Building Bright Futures team will utilize these policy recommendations, as well as the Vermont Early Childhood Action Plan and the most up-to-date data and evidence on young children and their families, as we advise and testify to the legislature, the administration, and other early childhood partners on what the needs of the early childhood system are. Other early childhood partners will also utilize the policy recommendation within the context of their own work. They use the policy recommendations for things such as advocating for change, informing legislative proposals, and holding system leaders accountable for the needs that have been identified for the early childhood system. I encourage you to take a look at our policy recommendations in full, as well as the annual report we put out called the 2024 Policy Playbook that includes more context on what the policy recommendations mean, why they matter, and how they can be utilized to inform policy and decision making.
Hi, my name's Ruth Hardy. I'm a state senator representing the Addison District, and I'm also a member of the State Advisory Council for Building Bright Futures. And every fall, Building Bright Futures comes out with its annual policy recommendations for policymakers, both legislators and administrators in the administration, to use to formulate policy in the upcoming legislative session and the upcoming year. And it's always a great thing for me to spend a deep dive looking at those policy recommendations. As a policymaker who focuses on education, early childhood education, and human services, I want to make sure that I have good guidance from people who have expertise around the state and what is best for children and families, and to know who to call when I need testimony or need advice on a bill that we're working on in this session. So I highly recommend that you take a look at the policy recommendations. They're a great tool for legislators, policymakers, and the general public. And thanks for your support of Building Bright Futures.